The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power in the creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. I am so thrilled for our program this week, and I am always thrilled for all of the ways that you can take in this program. And the one that's on the top of my mind right now are our satellite radio friends. Much love to the amazing people over at SiriusXM 145 Slam Radio, who've been our satellite radio home for, I don't know, 3 years now, 4 years. It's been a minute. We've had a nice relationship with them for a long time. Wonderful people over there at the Slam High School, the only high school student-run satellite radio station, and they've given us a home. And in honor of the fact that we have a home on Slam Radio, which is mostly a sports talk radio station, I feel like I need to just devote like 60 seconds to a little bit of sports talk before we get into the indie music and indie artist empowerment discussion that we do every week. Because, oh my God, that NBA Finals game, which would be Game 4 as we record this, was the most insane sporting event I've ever seen. I mean, just ending on like a last-second tip-in after like a 29-point comeback. It was mind-boggling. It was incredible. Even me, a South Florida, tried and true lifelong Heat fan who grew up in the 90s and is like born and bred to hate the New York Knicks. Even I had to be like so happy for the New York Knicks in that incredible game last night. Except the only thing that like threw me off from really enjoying the Knicks victory a little bit, and it was weird that this feeling bubbled up in me. Let me know if this was like this for any of you all as well. At the end of the game, when the Knicks get this incredible victory, a nearly 30-point comeback, seeing all of the celebrities in the front row, because it's New York City, so all the celebrities are sitting courtside, seeing them just like so happy and celebrating, including like my girl Taylor Swift, Larry David, Jerry Seinfeld, Ben Stiller, Spike Lee, they're all there. And like, they just like, I almost got jealous of how happy they were. Cause I was like, oh, look, the celebrities are happy. Oh yeah. Cause the celebrities, they just have it so hard in their life. And it's just so hard to be a celebrity. They deserve this. They needed this. They deserve this bit of happiness. Like it was just like a weird, like twinge of envy and jealousy bubbling up in me. Like, oh, you haven't had enough good things happen to you in your life, Taylor Swift. You needed this amazing basketball win too. Anyway, I digress. Producer Lauren is going to be co-hosting with us. How are you, Producer Lauren?
I'm doing great. I'm leaving the country tomorrow, so I'm feeling real good. Almost as happy as my dog, who's cheering in the background.
You are planing and then cruising in Europe. You're taking a plane to Portugal and then you're cruising around Portugal. That's going to be pretty fun.
Yes.
Excited for that. Excited to be chatting with you, Producer Lauren, and also excited for our guest coming up in the second segment, country singer-songwriter Nick Kane. This guy's really cool, great music, and also like one of these kind of guests that we've had on a few times where they've put together this amazing business career, achieving success in a wide range of fields, and then bringing those business skills into an indie music career. Those folks always have great advice for the viewers and listeners because they have all of these different career insights outside of music that they can bring to bear in giving music advice and indie career advice. And so I'm looking forward to that interview. That one's going to be cool.
I like that it's, we get a lot of people who go into the business side of it to, bring their expertise in other things to the indie artists. I like that this is a singer-songwriter who's bringing those life experiences to music. Like his stuff is getting put into words that not just he's playing, but I believe other people are singing too. It's a storytelling artist I'm looking forward to here.
Very much so. And the other thing I like about Nick is he represents something that I find is a really pleasant emerging trend when it comes to indie creators, which is because of the way the industry is now, where you can there's more flexibility than ever in terms of how you create, promote, and distribute your music. We've seen great indie artists come from unlikely places. You don't have to come from one of these entertainment industry hotbeds like Los Angeles or New York. You don't have to be one of those people sitting in the front row of Madison Square Garden, just being like unusually happy despite the fact that you're already a celebrity living a charmed life. You can be like Nick Kane, who grew up in rural Washington State. And once he has found success, he still stays there. He is investing in his like hometown area and bringing cool stuff to where he lives and never forgetting where he's come from. And excited to get his perspective on that as well. This is going to be a fun interview. I'm looking forward to our convo with him in the next segment.
We keep saying it's been too long since we've had singers on this show. Musicians, the music makers.
Yeah, well, because we have been trying to branch out, right?
So busy.
We've talked about this on prior episodes where, like, people are like, "Oh, you're getting too heavy just onto like the pure music stuff." So, like talk about other kinds of creators, bring in business people, and so we've been trying to accommodate that. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to get back to our roots, baby. This guy is super talented. He's an amazing singer-songwriter, but he also has the business background, and so we're gonna have a lot to chat with him about. I do want to talk a little bit, Producer Lauren, about this story that's been floating around a little bit, bubbling up in copyright law circles about some changes that they want to make in the Copyright Office. But before we get to that story, something that came up with me earlier today that I want to bring to the floor. I think it's going to be like a new kind of overarching piece of advice that I'm just going to bring up to like every artist that ever this happens to them. So I'm noticing something that's happening a lot more with indie creators where they are getting propositioned more and more for potential career opportunities over Instagram DMs. They get DMs from people saying, "Hey, I heard your music, and I want to use it in a commercial. Hey, I heard your music. I want to like do a collab with you, or I want to, invest in something." Like, the Instagram DM is sort of becoming the new email in terms of the way that a lot of artists are getting reached.
Yeah.
And the problem is that much how for women being propositioned by men via Instagram DM almost always leads to something terrible. When artists get propositioned on Instagram DM, it's almost usually the same result as well, except for the artist. Usually it doesn't end with you getting sent a photo of somebody's private parts, but although for a lot of female creators, that's unfortunately the case. But so far, like I've seen this more and more where artists are getting pitched opportunities via Instagram DM, and then those artists who are clients of mine will come to me and say, "Hey, Ryan, I got this thing over Instagram DM. Is it legit?" And 105% of the time, I have to tell them, no, it's not.
Really?
And yeah. I mean, most of the time they're scams. And Instagram DM is still very much a great scam vehicle. Case in point, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is that this happened with an artist client of mine just today.
Okay.
I had a client who was her Instagram DM was hit up by what appeared to be an important executive at a museum in New York. And the executive said, "Hey, I found your music online. We would love to use it in an advertising campaign for our museum." And sure enough, if you looked at the name at the bottom, it was the name of a person who is a director at the particular museum. And it said, like, "We'll pay you $500. And if you're interested, let us know and we'll send you a contract." And so, at first blush, you might look at that and say, well, that doesn't seem like a scam, right? Like, they're not having me click
downside.
Yeah. They're not
To
having me
sending
click.
a contract, yeah.
Yeah. They're just saying, we'll send you a contract. Like, there's no mysterious link that's going to mine my data. There's no computer virus they're asking me to download. Like, they're going to say yes, they're going to send a contract. And so this got sent to me, and whereas at first blush, even I went, okay, yeah, I mean, if they said send a contract, ask them to send a contract. And then I looked at it a little more closely. I noticed a few red flags, one of which being that the pitch had a couple misspellings in it. Not necessarily a deal breaker. We all make mistakes via email. I certainly wouldn't want to be penalized if I misspelled something in a message, but A red flag. Second red flag, the email address that was used as a contact in the DM was a Gmail account. If this were from a museum, you think it would use like the actual museum's email. That's strike 2. And, strike 3 was, it said something about like, if you're interested, we'll send you, in addition to a contract, we're going to send you the link to our payment portal. And I'm like, okay, that seems a little weird. You click the payment portal, they probably give you your bank account information and they steal from you. I'm guessing that's how the scam works. But either way, there was enough in there that I was like, it, seems a little sketchy. But there was a simple answer, right? They had the name and they had the museum. So I called the museum.
Yeah.
And I said, hi, I represent an artist who received a licensing opportunity from so-and-so at your museum. May I speak with them? And the receptionist on the other line goes, oh God, not another one of these. And I was like, oh, scam. Got it. All right. Now we know. Thank you for your time. I won't bother you again. Click. And so, this is still, and apparently this is like so much of a scam for this museum that it's like ruined this museum's life because they're just getting phone calls every day from lawyers like me.
Or artists.
Or artists, right? Saying, hey, is this legit?
Yeah.
And so like 2 people are getting screwed, right? Some poor museum's reputation's getting dragged through the mud. My clients are getting scammed, and poor lawyers like me have to waste their time making stupid phone calls. And all this is meant to say, like, maybe there will come a day where the Instagram DM is actually going to be a legitimate place where artists can find opportunities. We're not at that day yet. I still get way too many of these scam attempts on my clients.
I could hear that. I was thinking, we're talking other indie creators and indie designers, and I actually we made little cruising ducks for the cruise we're coming up on, and Madison, ducks, who has Carify now, graphic designed little ducks, and they were so popular. I said, people are asking for them. How do you want me to reach them? And their response was, send them to my Instagram, have them DM me. And so my brain's like, that's how things are getting done now. And there are independent creators getting reached out to by individuals, but I would think that the biggest problem, and my question came in right there, was how do payments work? Like, I don't want to just say, here, send me something and cross my fingers and hope. Like, would you advise a creator to set up some kind of a payment system to have to make a shopping page? Like, if I'm going to have people reach out to me and say, hey, I want my music, do I not go to that page they said to fill out, but rather say, if you're interested, here's my site and I've got a place where you can put in a request? Like, how do you set up the infrastructure to follow up with somebody? Because there are valid people who find you through Instagram.
I'm going to sound like such a grandpa about this, but like, we have email. Like, it's a thing. And we have these magical things called websites. You create a website, you can put the email address then, or actually what I tend to recommend artists do is actually just have like a contact form, because those tend to because that way your email account doesn't get just filled with like a bunch of weird sketchy crap because your email address is like publicly searchable at that point. Use a contact form on your webpage and people can send you contacts if they're interested. And then if they're interested, you can forward those things to an attorney. And payment shouldn't be happening through some payment portal that an artist clicks so that like all of your banking account information can get stolen or your credit card information can get stolen. It should be done through contracting and like sending checks or, wiring or the way that we actually do business in this world.
Sorry, but
not Instagram and Venmo and like stuff where you're going to get robbed.
Okay, now you are sounding like an old man because I love you, but you just said, hold on, we have to go back to the days of checks. Like, digital payments are going to happen. That's going to happen.
I mean, or like wire. I mean, like your boy still processes checks for people. It's a thing.
Yeah.
And, at least 2 or 3 checks on, I don't go to a bank anymore. Like you deposit them on your phone these days, which is kind of a cool thing. But checks are like, I'm way more comfortable when I get a check from an artist that like has to be deposited.
It's fraudulent check, isn't it?
I mean, if the check's coming to me, I'm more confident than like if the check gets sent out and then, somebody like washes it or whatever. Like Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can's the check. But yeah, I mean, like, we're not.
Somebody writes me a check, that check bounces. I've got like a $25 bounce check fee in addition to the fact that I didn't get the money I thought I was going to get because I got a check. Like, checks are scary for indie creators. Like, I don't know you.
Well, even wiring is better, but
There,
all this
I'll
is meant to say,
take
like, I'm still not sold on the, and maybe this is just like me being a grumpy old man here, but I'm still not sold on the Instagram DM as being like
That's
the
a contact that is not a contract. You
yeah,
can
like
reach out
that's
to me, but
I don't want business transacted there. If you are an artist that gets one of these pitches via Instagram DM, you should immediately be suspicious of it. But if you want to see where it goes, say, hey, here's,
Come to
if you
my
have an attorney, here's my attorney's email. You're welcome to reach out to them. Here's my if you have a manager, here's my manager's email. Here's my email. Here's my website, my contact form. Let's do this through proper channels, not your sketchy Instagram DM. Because by the way,
leave that part out.
Most legitimate business people that actually like or want to do this the right way, they don't want to reach out to you via Instagram DM either. They want to go through your representation. So anybody who's thinking like, oh, I'm going to go through Instagram DM, that's probably not a sophisticated business person. And that should already kind of raise some red flags there.
So long as it's, my vote is going to be initial contact. If somebody reaches out on Instagram, don't write off any opportunity because, that's their route. But don't think that it's God's gift to anything because it could just be spam. And I like the idea of, thank you. Here's how I do my business. Let's operate this way. Go to my website and there's information on my contact people. Thanks for checking out my Instagram. Cha-ching.
If you're lucky, it's a spam. Unfortunately,
Right.
sometimes that P becomes a C.
See, and then it's
a
dangerous.
much bigger problem. And artists get their identity stolen and stuff, and it's fun. All right. So I got another story I want to talk to you about, producer Lauren. And I admit on the front end that this is a story that is largely going unreported in the news. And mostly because like it's kind of highly technical and it gets into like questions of constitutional law and separation of powers. That's like, even for like a lawyer like me, like some of it kind of zooms over my head and I had to read over it a few times, but it might be one of the more important stories about laws that affect indie creators that we're going to see this year. And it's one that's largely flying under the radar, is not attracting a lot of political opposition, which kind of scares me. But I want to see if I can walk you through what's happening here, producer Lauren, and see if I can get you as outraged as I am, because I feel like I'm the only person outraged about this.
Okay.
There is a bill that is, unlike every other piece of legislation that is in existence right now, seems to be just fast tracking its way through Congress. It just made it through the House on voice vote, which means like it didn't even get a vote. Everybody in the House just went, "We're okay with this, right? Say aye." Aye. Yeah, it sounds like we won. Let's move it to the Senate. And that's what happened. Like that's like they didn't like vote or take the roll or anything. And now it's on its way to the Senate. And the bill that's being proposed is called the Legislative Branch Agencies Clarification Act. And even the name puts you to sleep. Like, we're clarifying stuff in the law. Like, so you listen to that and you're like, how can that possibly matter? And how can that, more importantly, possibly matter to independent musicians? Because here is why. The Legislative Branch Agencies Clarification Act specifically changes the way that we appoint what I think is one of the most important government officials that affects the day-to-day lives of indie creators. And that is a position called the Register of Copyrights. The Register of Copyrights is the person who is in charge of the U.S. Copyright Office. They set all of the copyright policy. They have a tremendous amount of power. They appoint the members of the Copyright Royalty Board, which sets mechanical and performance royalty rates for independent creators. They help set the Copyright Office's policies in terms of things like AI and whether AI training violates copyright law or if it's fair use. They set a lot of the rules about the Digital Millennium Copyright Act in terms of what what mechanisms to override copyright protections in technology is considered fair use or not. And all of these things have huge impacts on the day-to-day lives of independent creators. And so how that person is appointed is very, very important and has a big impact. And how they are appointed now, how we get the Register of Copyrights now, in my opinion, is actually a pretty good way to do it. It's unusual. The Register of Copyrights is appointed in a way that no other government official is. But it's a way that I think protects this person from political pressure and allows them to make good decisions. So currently, the Register of Copyrights under current law is appointed by somebody called the Librarian of Congress. And yes, even Congress has a librarian. Because I'm sure some of you have heard of the thing called the Library of Congress. Congress has its own library. It is a very big library. In fact, it's the biggest library in the world because it is filled with every single registered work that's ever been registered with the Copyright Office. If you have registered a copyright, one of the things that you have to do is send your work to the Copyright Office. Once you've sent in that work, it goes to the Library of Congress and it becomes part of the collection. And so as a result, the Library of Congress is the biggest library in the world, and it's run by the Librarian of Congress, who appoints the Register of Copyright. So it's not the president who appoints this person, it's this librarian. And so by having this buffer between the president and the Register of Copyrights, it protects that Register of Copyrights from political pressure, right? If the president, doesn't like the way that the Register of Copyrights is interpreting the law, the president can't just easily get rid of that person, right? And to me, that helps make sure that person is making good, sensible decisions that are not impacted by the law one way or another, or not impacted by, whoever's in the White House one day to the next. I think that's a good way of doing it, even though it's a little different from the way that other laws are doing it.
How does the librarian get appointed?
Very good question. The Librarian of Congress actually does get appointed by the president, but is appointed for a 10-year term. So It's not like the president can just, move this person around willy-nilly. Like they're kind of set in a position. However, everything I'm saying about this
is changing.
Has changed recently, because here's the reason why this law is getting proposed.
Okay.
And so let me first explain what the law would do, right?
Okay.
Because the law would change how the Librarian of Congress gets appointed and then how the Register of Copyrights gets appointed.
But they're still both appointed.
Well, but what the law would do is it would say, okay, Librarian of Congress gets appointed by Congress because it's their librarian, so that makes sense.
Okay.
But then it says that the Register of Copyrights would get appointed by the president, like any other executive branch official, right? Appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate, like the way the Attorney General is, or the
that feels like it would
State is.
Transition a lot, wouldn't it? Like then you get a lot of whimming happening.
A lot of what?
It'll be a lot of whims. The whim of this.
Yeah, well, yeah, whoever's in the White House.
A lot of whimming.
Right. So, and that's exactly the issue, right? Is now instead of the Register of Copyrights, the head of the Copyright Office being this apolitical technocrat who's just kind of, interpreting the law and just being very technical about this stuff. Now this person becomes a political appointee who, as using the word you just used, is now subject to the whims of whoever's in the White House. If the president, for example, is somebody who's really into AI and wants to just, clear the way for AI and get rid of all the copyright barriers in the way of AI, you appoint a Register of Copyrights who's going to interpret copyright law in a way that favors AI. If you get somebody in the White House who, wants to help the record labels out and hurt artists, you will get a Register of Copyrights that, has a lot of big media preferences, and that can hurt artists. And suddenly this person who's supposed to be apolitical is now incredibly political. And for those of you who are thinking, well, that's not really actually a problem. What makes you think a president is going to is going to politicize this Copyright Office? And the answer is because it's already happening.
Because they're already doing it.
The reason why we're kind of in this mess right now, where Congress is even talking about, okay, maybe we should just let the president pick the Register of Copyrights, is because a few months ago, President Trump decided that he didn't like some of the decisions that the Register of Copyrights was making. The Register of Copyrights put out this report saying, look, we've looked at it, we've researched this, we've looked at the law, and in the opinion of the Copyright Office, we don't think that using AI, using copyrighted works to train artificial intelligence is necessarily fair use. And that made every AI company go, uh-oh. And I'm sure one of them got President Trump on the phone and said, hey, can you do something about that? That's not very good for us. And the problem was there was nothing in the law that allowed the president to remove the Register of Copyrights, right? Because they're appointed by the Librarian of Congress. And so what did President Trump do? Fired the Librarian of Congress.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, well, if I can't get rid of the Register of Copyrights, I'm going to get rid of the person who decides who the Register of Copyrights is. So he
appoint
fires
a new person who appoints who I want.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened. He fires the Librarian of Congress and then, installs the current Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, who's like a Trump lieutenant. And now that person tried to remove the Register of Copyrights, but now there's a big litigation happening, and that one has to work its way through the courts. But
These
meanwhile,
courts are busy.
You certainly are. But meanwhile, the problem is like now Congress went, wait a minute, that's our librarian you just fired. Like that's our person. Like you can't. And so obviously Congress doesn't like this. And so their way of trying to fix this problem is, okay, fine. If you want to fire the Register of Copyrights and be able to appoint them, you can do that, and we'll let you do that.
Don't touch our librarian.
But just leave our librarian alone. So here's a law that lets you appoint the Register of Copyrights, lets us appoint the Librarian of Congress, and now everybody's happy. Except that proposal now takes a position, the Register of Copyrights, which has a tremendous amount of power over affecting art and commerce and how artists get paid, and now puts it in the hands of somebody who could be potentially beholden to big tech, beholden to AI companies, beholden to big media companies, but often not beholden to like actual artists or creators. And so I think that this law, could wind up, even though it's probably well-intentioned because, they're trying to alleviate some separation of powers issues, could wind up doing a lot more harm to creators than good. And I think, and so the reason why I want to talk about this is I just want to get on this microphone and say, hey, let's take a breath and actually think about whether this is a good idea or not. Because right now it's flying through Congress. It went through the House of Representatives on voice vote. Nobody actually opposed this. Now it's going to the Senate. And I'd like for the Senate to just be like, okay, let's actually take a look at this. Let's weigh the pros and the cons. Like, let's decide whether or not we think it's a good idea to, put this particular position in the hands of just the president appoints them. And what a lot of the people who think I am freaking out about this are going to say in response is, hey, this bill specifically says that the Register of Copyrights is appointed to a 10-year term. So like the president can only appoint a new one after the 10-year term is up, except what President Trump has kind of shown us recently. They'll just, if the president doesn't like who's in that job, they're just going to fire him and appoint their own Register of Copyrights.
Like, what good is a term if you can just cancel it at a certain point and appoint your own when you want to?
Yes.
I mean, we've seen that. We saw that happen in a school board where we went, it takes too much. Let's just fire them all and appoint new ones. Wait, those are elected positions. But this is a trend that is kind of scary, like job security in general. Let's just go universally. Like if you're a creator growing up now and coming out and going, God, AI is taking all my jobs, or you're somebody who's had a government position with a 10-year term and you're like, oh, never mind, that just went away. Like job security is scary today.
Yeah. And look, like I am all for having government officials generally who are either elected or are directly accountable to somebody who is elected. Like I get the merit in that, right? Because like if the person who was appointed by somebody who was elected and you don't think they did a good job, you know who to blame, at the ballot box. But I also think there are some government positions that are so highly technical that are so highly regulated that they shouldn't just be put in the hands of somebody appointed by a president and subject to political whims. Copyright law is one of those areas. It's highly technical. It should be apolitical. And having a layer of, having this buffer of the Librarian of Congress between the president and the Register of Copyrights, I generally think is a good system that's led to a lot of really good copyright policy being made over the last 200 years. And I don't want to see that go away just because everybody's freaking out in Congress because the president fired their librarian. And so my hope to Congress is just take a breath. Like let's don't just sail this through Congress because you don't want your librarian getting fired again. Just weigh the pros and the cons and think about the long-term impacts that this could have on creative professionals in general. And for the indie artists out there, I think this is something you all should get vocal about as well, because they're hoping that you don't, right? They're hoping that you look at a law that just has a title like Legislative Branch Agencies Clarification Act and go, oh, that doesn't seem that interesting. It probably doesn't affect me. That's what they want you to think. And instead, I'm telling you, it's something that does affect you. And so, write your congressman, say, hey, I know you don't think we care about these laws, but we do. And, let's take a breath and actually think about what this law is going to do and the impact it's going to have, and maybe don't make the changes on a whim.
Are there any qualifications at all? Like you're saying this is a technical position, like you can't be a doctor without some kind of technical training. But you could be a favor position for somebody who is doing something helpful to me if I put you in this position, kind of a thing, when it's an appointment from a president that comes in. And that kind of scares me. Is there any kind of credentialing getting done?
That's an excellent question, because if I was devising my dream person for Register of Copyrights, you have acknowledged that this is a position that's highly technical. Maybe it should be, the position should certainly go to somebody
of some kind
who has expertise in the law, should be a lawyer, preferably a copyright lawyer, maybe somebody with extensive entertainment industry background, maybe somebody who's actually worked as a working artist or a entertainment executive, somebody who has the relevant experience and background. None of those things are required under this law, right? The president could absolutely just appoint their buddy, which is, kind of
it's something they don't care about, right? They're oh, I've got a this and a that. But to them, that could be one of those positions where it's I've got a whole list of appointees and I've got a whole list of people who want me to appoint. I'll make you a director of education.
It's probably a sweet job to give to a political buddy, because I'm guessing the Register of Copyrights probably gets invited to a lot of cool concerts and stuff. It's sort of like being the ambassador to Switzerland, right? You like to ski, that's probably a pretty sweet ambassadorship. You want to go to a bunch of concerts, be the Register of Copyrights, be the person who's in charge of art in America.
Yeah, he wants that. That sounds great.
But it should go to somebody who has technical knowledge.
It's going to be a favor position.
Because this person has so much power. And I think what happened was, because there was always this buffer between the president and the Register of Copyrights, the Librarian of Congress, the Congress was always very willing to give the Register of Copyrights a lot of power. Because okay, this is somebody who the president can't meddle with, so let's put them in charge of appointing all of the members of the Copyright Royalty Board, of devising all of the procedures for the Copyright Claims Board, for being able to write a bunch of policies about AI, right? Let's give them all this power because we know that they're going to be insulated, except they're not insulated anymore, and now the president can just appoint this person at whim. That should be terrifying. Okay. I thank all of our viewers and listeners for letting me drone on probably way too long about, separation of powers talk. That's what everybody loves to come to Break the Business for. Let us reset. We'll come back in 2 minutes and chat with our awesome guest, Nick Kane. Don't go anywhere. Just keep checking out Break the Business.
Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with producer Lauren. I want to give a quick shout out to our normal co-host that we have here, Gideon King. Gideon King, we are rooting for you, man, and we are giving you our very, very best. Thank you for checking out Break the Business, wherever you're checking out Break the Business. There's a great many places where you can find us, and we hope that you avail yourself of it. If you like looking at our handsome faces, you can find us on all the live streaming platforms like YouTube and Twitch, and our people that we love very much at volume.com, satellite radio, Sirius XM 145, and on all major podcast platforms. Wherever you're taking us in, we're just so glad that you are. And all we ask in return is a giant check for $10,000. No, I'm kidding. All we ask in return is that you tell a friend. That's it. We just want you to get the word out, help us build this community the way we've always built this community for the last decade plus. Word of mouth. Just let us know, just let them know the impact it's had for you as a creator and how you think that our show might help others. And let's just keep the good vibes going. Let us go ahead and bring in our guest this week. I'm excited to talk to this chap. He is a Washington-based country rock singer-songwriter who has assembled a wide range of career successes in real estate, restaurants, construction, and more before pursuing success as an independent artist. His new album, Singled Out, dropped on June 12th, and you can find out more about our guest's work by visiting nickkanemusic.com. We are happy to welcome Nick Kane on to Break the Business. Hi, Nick.
I'm just kidding. I'm glad you said you were kidding about that 10 grand because I was just writing out a check to mail it to you. So.
Darn!
I spoke too soon. It is a pleasure to meet you, Nick. I don't know if you heard this in the first segment, but one of the things that we were mentioning when we were just glowingly singing your praises for the first 8 minutes or so of the show is, to me, you represent a kind of indie artist that we just love to celebrate around here, and whose story we want to amplify, which is the indie artist who has built an amazing career in business outside of music in a lot of different places, and then brings those skills to bear in their entertainment career. Not only do I think that's a great way to have an entertainment career, but it also makes you a great guest for Break the Business because you have a lot of career insights in a wide range of fields that you can bring to your interview here. So I'm excited for this. And I want to talk about some of those other work experiences before we talk about the music. Because before music, you had built a quite a wide range of entrepreneurial lines on your resume. You were a top car salesman. You operated pizza shops, spec houses. You did real estate, heavy equipment. You owned a Christmas tree farm, a restaurant in Mexico. You seem like you got a lot of drive. Where does that come from? And is there any sort of like common thread that I can connect across all these work experiences? Like how does one go from like pizza shops to Christmas tree farms?
Well, they say it's ADD, but I call it ambition. I just learn things and I get bored with it quick. So I like to move on to the next thing. And I just never could imagine myself doing the same thing day in, day out. I would go insane.
I know that feeling.
I mean, that's the A in ADD stands for ambition, right? That's right.
Oh. I'm taking that one.
Like, I mean, I'm trying to think of like which of these lines on your resume do I want the backstory on the most? I think it's the restaurant in Mexico, right? Like producer Lauren, I'm in between the Christmas tree farm and the restaurant in Mexico, but I think I want to go restaurant in Mexico here because like you're from Washington State, which is about as far from Mexico as you can get. Like, what made you go, that's what I need, Mexico restaurant?
I was just bored one night and spun the globe and said, I'm going to open a restaurant in Puerto Vallarta.
I mean,
no, it wasn't.
That was probably sarcastic. Like knowing you, that might have been how it happened.
No, I'd go down there. You know, I'd gone down there on vacation. I can't go on vacation without, I can't sit on the beach for 2 days or 2 hours. So like I get bored, you start meeting people and, you know, I don't know how to explain it. I liked, if I'm going to go there all the time, I need something to do. So then I started doing that. And then we ended up doing a spice company. And then I started picking up some properties, doing, you know, rentals and things like that. Because if you spend more than 3 or 4 days down there, I mean, what do? You can't just drink on the beach for a week. That's absurd. So I just
man
needed
after
stuff
my
to
own
do.
heart. I love this. People are always like, we're relaxing on the beach. I'm like, yeah, but what are we doing?
See, but now I have to go there. So it's like now I've forced myself into these commitments, which, oh my God, it's terrible, right?
Ah.
And I imagine somebody who does such a wide range of entrepreneurial ventures that are so unrelated to each other, you probably have been told no a lot, or have been told that's not a good idea a lot.
And that
so
just makes me want to do it more.
Yeah. Well, so whether it's like somebody telling you like you shouldn't open a fine dining restaurant after, you know, opening a bunch of pizza joints.
Restaurants, right?
You know, or, you know, you can't start a business in Mexico, or why are you getting into the Christmas tree farm business? How did you have that switch that you can turn off where you don't listen to those people? Because like the way most people are wired, like when they get told no, like you go, yeah, you're probably right about that. It sounds like you don't make that concession ever.
No, when you hit a wall, you don't stop, or you just break it down and keep going. I mean, that's why they make heavy equipment. There's a wall in the way. Boom. But there's always a way to do it. I mean, there's many successful restaurants out there. There's many successful real estate firms out there. Nothing is impossible. And I tell people all the time, having what you want is really the easy part. Knowing what you want is the hard part. So once you know what you want, it's easy because you want it and you're going to do whatever you can to get it. So I'll sit there and think about things and look at all these different opportunities, and finally one will settle and be like, that's what I want to do. And then you just focus on that and you do it. And I've always been a big fan of the minimum effective dose. So, you know, they say if you put in 100% effort and you get 100% result, that's not efficient. But if I put in, it's not. If I put in 20% effort and I get an 80% result, that's efficient. Well, I can do that all day long.
I like that.
Oh my God.
I was gonna say, how do you know where to put the efficiency? How do you know like what is running your battery dead and what actually made something happen? Like I run around and hit a bunch of walls and get excited about things, but you make things happen. Like how do you know what things are worth that effort?
You just go with your gut. I think that's
You
amazing.
got a
I mean,
good
every time
gut.
you've gone against your gut instinct, what has happened? You always go back, I knew it. Like you have that instinct and you go against it and then it doesn't work out. But if like, you know, you have a gut instinct and you follow through with it, it works. And you can't be afraid. You got to eliminate like fear and emotion out of your decisions and think about things logically. Like, wait a second, they put a man on the moon 60 years ago. I think I can open a restaurant, you know, you put things into perspective. And
I mean, I don't know. Like I've
all that
seen the
logic.
logistics involved with operating a restaurant. Like I'm almost think it might be easier to get on the moon than,
well,
you know,
nowadays
try to-
probably, but
I'm telling you, like it's, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong about this. Like, I don't think there is a harder business to run than a restaurant. Like all of the different things that make running a business hard, restaurants have them. Like what's hard about running a business? Inventory turnover, restaurant, dealing with employees, human resources, restaurant, dealing directly with customers, restaurants, intense competition, restaurants, like insane regulations, restaurants, like everything that like makes running a business hard is all in the restaurant industry. And for some reason that just makes you go, yep, let's do it.
I thrive in that situation. I thrive off chaos. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. I love challenge. I love a different day every day. I love a different experience, you know, a different situation. Cause like in the restaurants, literally there are never 2 days that are the same. You know, this broke that day, or the reservations are off the charts, or 2 people didn't show up, or liquor board's here, health department's here, or it's just like the ultimate game of whack-a-mole or something. I don't know how to explain it. But it is, as long as restaurants generally are not as difficult as you think, as long as you're willing to put your needs last. So like, for an example,
that's all.
Well, it's serious. It's almost that simple. So seriously, like, I've got 20 people over at my house. I'm making a big old dinner. I'm taking a day off. I haven't had one in 6 weeks. Wine's out, cooking for everybody. Ring, ring. We're slammed. Such and such didn't show up and the oven's broke. Okay, I'll be right there. Click. Hey guys, I'll be back in about 2 hours. Enjoy the wine. Enjoy the food. Pull this out in the oven in an hour. I'll be back as soon as I can. And you leave. Because, I mean, that's literally what it takes, because you have to have consistency. You have to be consistently terrible or consistently good, but either way, it has to be consistent. There's restaurants, I'm not going to name names. There's restaurants out there all over the place that consistently serve horrible products, but they consistently do it. And that's the recipe. It really is. Your hours have to be the same. Your product has to be the same. Your service has to be the same. It's got to be dependable.
And are there any business lessons or just the ways that you go about business that bleed into your work in music? Like, were there any transferable skills there?
Oh, all kinds of them. People skills, like in sales, I learned how to pick up the phone book, open up, and just really point to a name, call that person, and just introduce myself and say, hey, by the way, what are you driving? Thought about trading it in lately, or anything like that. When I first started doing pizzas, when it was slow, I'd literally open the phone book and I'd just, oh, Mrs. Jones, have you guys had lunch today? Oh, no, we haven't. Can I bring you a free pizza?
Oh my gosh.
Great. So I would, every day I would do 2 or 3 of those. Well, you do 2 or 3 of those and you pick up 2 or 3 new customers every day. That's 1,000 customers a year. Well, you do that for a year or two. Next thing you know, you got 1,000 people giving you $25 a month, once a month, and you're kind of building that residual. And then if you're good, they tell, somebody. If you're bad, they'll tell 10, but you just got to make sure that you're, always you have to always be, growing and like putting effort into it and so forth.
That's a hustle, Gene. My goodness.
It's the same with booking music gigs. So I have a couple of these platforms, right? And it's really easy. You put your thing on there and you get band requests and you just respond with an email. Oh, thanks. We'd love to play it, blah, blah, blah. I don't do that. I call them. And 9 out of 10, or actually 10 out of 10 said, you're the only artist who's actually called us. And I'll call them and, talk to them about what their event is, what we have to offer. Are we a good fit? Is there anything else you need lighting or stage or, stuff like that. And I would never do business with anybody I couldn't speak to on the phone. So like, I'm not going to book a $5,000 gig through an email with somebody I've never even spoke to. So even if I do get that, I still call and make sure and, that we're not incompatible, so to speak.
So
Now,
skip those steps right from the beginning.
That's
Call.
Yeah, no Instagram DMs.
Well,
No
you
Instagram
said
DMs.
earlier,
by the way.
you said earlier, like, I'm going to go grandpa on this. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, I'm still traditional.
The rotary phone.
Gloria,
Hello,
will you connect
operator.
me to 98562, please. And then, that whole DM Instagram thing, like, same thing. Like, I've seen that. I get that all the time. Like, hey, we want to feature on this, or we want to do this. We're a big record. I'm like, if you're a big record company, you're not going to be sending me an Instagram message.
Thank you.
With a
Yeah.
page that has 12 followers. I mean, come on. Like,
Right.
So, and then, like you said, a quick Google search, debunks it instantly. But I don't know about, like, there's a lot of people that get scammed all the time. I hear about it. And I mean, literally in 20 seconds of research, you could be like, oh, that does sound too good to be true.
There you go. And I imagine you're working in all the different industries that you've worked in for so many years. Like, your BS detector is, finally too. So I want to talk about how you got started in music, because I think I read somewhere that like this showed up for you a little bit later in life. Was there a major event that caused you to like want to shift into this field?
Yeah, divorce.
Like so many artists, you poured your sorrows into your art.
Yeah, I got a song out called "If I'd Only Known," and we refer to it as my divorce anthem. But the first line is 34, here comes divorce, and then it's kind of a rocker. But
She just couldn't take all of the changes.
no, it's mainly
If you can't keep up. You got to go, right?
I'm not going to get into the details of it. It's a pretty nasty one. But the what had happened is, so I got divorced at, I don't remember what year it was, 2016 or something, and there was a big country concert coming into Washington at the Gorge called Watershed, and my cousin, he was getting divorced too, so he's like, hey, let's go to this country show. I heard it's really cool, you know. And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, dude, let's just go. So we took the boat over there and had a buddy that lived on the river and all that. And I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. And then so I told my cousin, I was like, dude, I want to do that. And he's like, oh yeah, what? He's like, actually, if anybody could do it, it'd probably be you. So I had like gone home and bought a guitar and kind of struggled with it.
Wait. Like, you didn't have like what sort of musical training or background did you have before you went to that concert and said, I'm going to be a musician now?
I had a radio in my car.
Nick, come on. Are you kidding me?
No, I couldn't.
Like, you didn't, were you playing garage bands as a kid? Because like,
No.
I've listened to your music. You sound like you've been playing for years. I mean,
No. So yeah, I just decided I want to do it. And again, like I said, having what you want is the easy part. Once you know what you want, it's easy. Like if I said, you have to learn German or a foreign language, whatever, and you're like, I don't really want to learn that. Well, you're going to struggle with it. But if you woke up one morning like, my God, like Spanish, I speak fluent Spanish because I wanted to learn how to speak Spanish. So it only took 6 months, like it was a pretty quick lessons. And so, getting the guitar.
I live in
and,
South Florida and I have not picked it up in decades. So
it's 'cause you
I'm
don't want
jelly.
to.
I'm not right. I need to want it more.
So yeah, like I said, bought a guitar, kind of struggled with it. And then, I started, messing with it. And I thought, I just want to learn how to play a song. That was my initial goal. I was like, if I could play, let's just do a little peeking on power here. If I could just learn how to play a song, that'd be cool. And so I was like, well, if I'm gonna learn how to play a song, I'm gonna learn how to sing one. And then it went to, well, if I'm gonna learn how to sing a song, I'm gonna sing my own songs.
Yes.
So, I basically Googled best voice coach in the country and got a hold of this guy, Roger Love, out of LA, who was working with, movie stars and all this stuff.
Yeah.
You know Roger?
Yeah.
Okay. So I called Roger. I made all this research. You can't find the guy's phone number, right? I couldn't find it, but finally I somehow in fine print somewhere found this guy's phone number. So I called, and of course he didn't answer. So I left a message. Hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I found you, yada, yada, yada. I want to learn how to sing. And about 2 hours later, I get this call, and I was like, LA? I don't know anybody in LA. This is probably spam. I was like, man, what the hell? So I answer the phone. And he goes, Nick? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, Roger Love. And I was like, Roger Love, celebrity voice coach. I just left a message for an hour ago. That's me. And so I just told him the story. I was like, hey, I'd rather, come down there and visit you and tell me, no, don't do this. You should focus on digging holes or something else. You're not going to be a musician. And I went down there, and I have a recording of the first session we did of singing. I can't even listen to it. It's so bad. It is so bad. But then after spending 3 or 4 or 5 days with him, it was I recorded this song, and I was like, oh, it's terrible. But I was like, oh, not that bad. And then so he basically was like, well, if you're going to be a music artist, you can't call yourself an artist if you never painted a picture. So you got to make your own material. And I was like, well, that's what I want to do. And so he told me to bring him back some song titles the next day. So I brought him back all these song titles that I wrote down, and he was reading through them, and I was telling him the stories about the different concepts, and he was like, hang on one sec. So he picked up the phone, and then he calls Drew Lawrence, who had wrote a Christina Perry chart topping Jar of Hearts. Yeah.
The acclaimed songwriter, Drew Lawrence.
Yes. And so he's like, Drew, Roger, what's going on? He's like, hey, I want you to meet this guy. Are you busy tomorrow? And he goes, no, what's up? And so next evening, I'm over having dinner at Drew's house. And he's like, well, let's go out to the studio and write a song. And he's like, in 4 hours, we had wrote a song start to finish, demoed it and everything. And since then, I just got back from LA Tuesday. We just down there, we wrote 4 or 5 more songs. So, and it just got carried away from there.
So how long have you been writing songs, and about how many songs have you written? Because this is like less than a decade here, right?
Oh, okay, so back up just a little bit. What
There's like
really
a
made
pandemic
this-
in between.
What
Well,
really
yeah,
made this
yeah.
what really made this work was
Thank you.
COVID. I couldn't get building permits. I was dangerous to frame a house by myself, all that stuff. And so I literally locked myself in the basement, and I was doing Zoom sessions with Drew, and he was helping me with singing, and then since all the bands were dropping out, I had this other guitar player that I started playing with right before COVID, and nobody was getting gigs, and I was like, man, I want to play.
Oh,
And
wait
he's
for
like, "If
this,
you-"
Lauren. This is crazy. Go
he's
ahead.
like, well, if you can find me a gig, if you can find us a gig, I'll play with you. So I'm like, okay. So coincidentally, I'd like years ago met some booking agent who lived in like Minnesota, and I don't remember even where I met. It was John Durkoff, and I called him. I was like, hey, Leslie goes, we're looking for some gigs or whatever, and he goes, I'll tell you what, I'll call you back. And he calls me back like 3 hours later and goes, I got a gig for you. And I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, it's in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I was like, okay. So we got booked the house band for the Outlaw in Cheyenne, Wyoming, which like Trisha Yearwood was there like a week before or a month before, whatever. So it was a pretty big venue, but the bands were not playing. They were dropping out left and right. No one's going to travel. Well, I didn't care, So we went down there. We're in the house band for a week, and I'm sure we were terrible. I'm sure of it. But a couple months later, he calls back and says, hey, do you guys want to go play Cheyenne again for Frontier Days, which was thousands of people at this event, even though it was COVID. So we're like, heck yeah. So we went there and played. And then he said, well, while you're there, do you want to go play in South Dakota and Deadwood? And I was like, yeah. And then, so we played Deadwood, and then the next band that was playing after us in Deadwood canceled because they were sick. So we ended up getting 2 weeks in Deadwood. So I had like 20 something gigs in like a 3-week period. So like the growth was exponential, because when you play live, I mean, it's not like singing in the shower. There's a lot of parts, and you learn quickly.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the
You're
the
touring
slingshot
when
there.
no one else was touring. Like,
Oh yeah, everybody else
no
is
one else
at
can
home. I'm
find a
on the
job.
road.
Yeah.
So against the grain has always worked for me as well. Like if everybody's selling real estate, I'm buying it. If everybody's buying real estate, I'm selling it.
Man, I'm so jealous
Me
because
too.
like I want Nick Kane's ADD. I want the ADD where like you get to start a bunch of businesses and like learn how to be like an amazing country singer. I have the ADD where I just look at my phone all the time.
Oh, well, that you got to get rid of that right away, because that is a time
not
sump.
a
Like
good
I want like a refund on the ADD I got. Dude, you rock, Nick. This is an amazing story, and I love hearing the background on it and just all the cool stuff that you do. I knew that the viewers and listeners would get a kick out of this. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting nickkanemusic.com. Check out Singled Out, a new album. Nick, we got, and God, I could take this conversation so many directions. I hate that we're out of time, but I do want to make sure we get in with our final question here. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Surround yourself by professionals. You want to be the weakest link all the time. I always call myself the weakest link. I've got professional backline, drummer, bass, all that stuff. Have been doing it their whole lives. Yeah, you just got to stick with it. Don't be afraid. Don't oversaturate and play every little bar around your house. Try to be a little more less accessible if you ever want to build. I call it like the McDonald's menu. Once you get on that 99-cent menu, it's really tough to sell a $10 hamburger. So not that or a steak. If you sell a $1 steak, it's hard to sell a $20 steak. That's a better comparison. Just keep learning, keep practicing, keep playing, and stay out of your comfort zone. Always bite off more than you can chew. That's what I always do. Like the whole,
That's pretty clear.
if you have a, I'll commit myself to things that scare the hell out of me, but I know I have enough time and a deadline. So once you have a deadline, as long as you're comfortable with meeting deadlines, it's like cramming for a test. Like you have to be ready. You made a commitment and signed a contract. So those kind of things force you to grow and force you to get better.
I want to start living my life this way more. Like there's so many things that like I do and just pursue, and like I don't do them because I'm like, oh, I gotta stay in my lane. Well, why? Nick Kane doesn't stay in his lane.
I was working with my son today, and we were talking about. I was like, you know what I'm gonna quit taking things so serious because this is all just a simulation anyway.
Yeah. There you
It's
go.
not even real.
Hold on a second. He's raising kids while doing this all too. We didn't even skip
Oh.
that part. Oh my goodness.
What a champ.
Gracious, sir. Wow.
He's my hero. Thanks so much, Nick. Love your insights. We got to have you on again real soon because this is a blast. Our thanks to Nick Kane and producer Lauren. Thanks to all of you viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We'll see you next week.